Alrighty, Yagi here, and today we're here to talk about patch 6.10, which just got released 2 days ago as of the time of the recording. It's only been 2 days, but this patch has completely changed up the landscape of the Pokemon Autochess community, and I just wanted to give my thoughts and opinions and have a bit of a discussion about future builds around the Pokemon and the new reworked synergies between fairy and fighting that we can go ahead and build around. This is going to be a very long video, so I will have timestamps in the video for if you want to just skip around to see what you want to get to specifically, because I will be going very in-depth into a lot of these specific Pokemon and potential builds you can do with them. But before that, if you want to skip the sappy stuff, you might want to start using those timestamps now, because before we begin, I would like to thank everyone who's been subscribing to the channel lately, because we have just reached 200 subscribers, which is an insane number to me. The amount of support we have gotten for Pokemon Autochess from the community is insane, and there's honestly not enough words of gratitude I can show to even thank everyone for all the support. Well, I guess I could start learning some foreign languages like Arigato and Salamat from Filipino, but I honestly, from whenever I started this, I never thought that Pokemon Autochess would be something I would do on a bi-daily basis. Honestly, this has been I've enjoyed the game so much, and I'm glad that everyone has been enjoying the journey with me. And honestly, I remember reading some of your all's comments, and I was very surprised that I actually introduced some people into the game, which is an absurd thought to me, because I am a really small content creator for this game. So the fact that I am actually introducing people to the game is very it got me really motivated to keep going, honestly, because it kind of makes you feel like your content slightly matters. I mean, it's gaming content. It's not going to change anyone's worldview at the end of the day. But introducing people into a really fun game. I really enjoy this game, by the way. If it wasn't already obvious by the amount of content I post of this, I really enjoy this game, and I'm happy I've been able to share that enjoyment and get other people to enjoy this game as well. And now, I would like to mention one thing, since we're talking about my YouTube channel. One thing that's very important to the channel, and one of the main reasons why I started doing Pokemon Autochess content as regularly as I have been, and while it's not directly part of the 6.10 release, but is very important, very majorly affected by it, is the 31 Synergy Challenge. Now, as a lot of you know, most of my content on this channel is based around completing the 31 Synergy Challenge. That's what I have been doing ever since I started posting Pokemon Autochess content. It's actually a large portion of the reason why I have been posting as regularly as I have been. Now, if you're not too familiar with the rules of this 31 Synergy Challenge, you're supposed to do it all in one patch. So I started in patch 6.9. And I don't think I need to be a teacher to tell you that this is no longer 6.9. Yeah, so 6.10. So with this officially will probably be the end of our run. Now, I say probably because there is a niche rule in the 31 Synergy Challenge where I can keep going as long as I have 30 days past my starting game, which is normal, which as of now, that would give me, that would give me about 8 days as the time of recording to complete, I don't know, a good, say, 21 synergies. That one's not happening. And unfortunately, because, I could definitely try, but unfortunately, I do have college classes, and those will take priority over the Synergy Challenge. So this will be the official end of my run. However, I should clarify that I will not be stopping my 31 Synergy Challenge run. It's just now going to be an unofficial one, because I will just keep on posting about it, and I will quote-unquote complete it, but it's going to be unofficially. I do want to clarify, there have been some rumors going around that you can just start a new game in 6.10, and then you have 30 days from there. I have seen some people talking about that. There was some misinformation going around about that. I would like to clarify that Big Wef has actually responded in the Discord that that is not the case, and that it will be from whenever you start your normal game. So for a lot of people, this will be the end of their run. If you do have, if you're close to completing your Synergy Challenge, and you started rather recently and you're almost done, I would recommend probably hopping on right now and trying to complete that as fast as possible. But as for me, I'm not even going to try that. I'm not getting through 21 synergies in a week, so this is my official notice that I am dropping out of the challenge. In any case, I think I've talked enough about stuff unrelated to the patch. Let's actually get straight into this. So let's go ahead and start off with the easy stuff. So Fairy got a massive rework. That's going to be documented. There's going to be a lot more details about it further in. So we are going to save Fairy and fighting for later. Let's go and start off with this easy stuff, like there's now a Smeargle's palette. You can now change the theme and colors of your game, and there's about 10 themes available at launch, with more to come in the future. By the way, I should mention, not all of them are immediately available to you. Some of them you do have to unlock via titles. And I can go ahead and show you an example. As you can see here, this is not normal colors, but yeah, look at that. We have a nice animated Espeon autumn-like colors in the background. Really like this color scheme. And if you're curious about how to change it yourself, you can go to options, go to the interface, and let's go ahead and change it back into classic, you know, the good old normal classic background that we like. And there's a ton of different ones. I only have a couple of these unlocked, but we have some Japanese Red Sea one if you want. You can have, if you like dark colors, you can get Umbreon instead of the Espeon one that I have. But I like this autumn one. It's my favorite of the bunch. They also got PAC streamers to show up in the lobby now. So now you can actually link your Twitch in your account, and if you go ahead and stream on here, you can now see, if you go to the main lobby, you can now, instead of just announcement and the expeditions, you can now see people streaming Pokemon Autochess on the right side of your lobby. And if you're just bored, you can go ahead and check that stuff out. Me personally, I don't really use Twitch. I mean, it's nice that they have this now, but I tried joining a lobby, I mean, not lobby, but I tried joining a streamer the other day. Got hit with three ads that was like 3 minutes, 2 to 3 minutes, before I could even join the stream. Because I wanted to show my support for this new thing, because I think it is cool Pokemon Autochess is supporting their content creators. However, that was hell. I don't like Twitch at all. I much rather watch. There are YouTubers who stream on YouTube, and I'd honestly much rather prefer watching those guys' streams, because even if there is an ad, YouTube will just allow me to skip it in like 5 seconds. I cannot do that on Twitch. I'm sorry, I do not have that kind of attention span. So I'm sorry to everyone on that Twitch, but I'm not watching that. But I do recommend that if you all have that kind of attention span, I do genuinely recommend checking out and showing support to the guys on Twitch if you ever have time. Moving on, let's go ahead and start talking about the new Pokemon. So as of now, there's 6 new Pokemon, as you can, I can count. There's obviously way more than 6 here, but I'm condensing the evolution lines into one Pokemon. So as a total, there are 6 Pokemon. We have Quaxly, the Quaxly line, Hisuian Avalugg, Komala, the Tarantula line, Slitherwing, and of course, our big old fat squirrel. Love this thing. I don't know if I'll like it in-game, but I love the idea of it as a Pokemon in general. So let's go ahead and get started with Quaxly. Alright, so with Quaxly, he has a pretty interesting synergies. He has Aquatic, Fighting, and Flying, which sounds a bit random, but there's actually a lot of overlap that can make for some really interesting synergies. But before we get into that, let's go into his ability. So he gets to shift to an adjacent unoccupied tile with fluid dance steps before dealing 25 to 50 to 100 special damage to the target and increasing user speed by 10, 15, 20. So he's a boosting Pokemon and he does his damage. I really like that ability. We're going to see how I like it whenever I actually try to play it. I wish I could play it, but I've already finished my Aquatic Synergy playthrough, so I probably won't be playing it for a while. but definitely something that I am looking forward to in the future. But before we get into the builds we can do with them, let's go ahead and see what kind of synergies we're working with here. So as of the time of the recording, there is currently 5 total Pokemon with fighting and aquatic. We have, I think we're going to see a lot more aquatic fighting at the start because Poliwag is one of the common aquatic units, and because now with Quaxly you can get aquatic 2 and fighting 2 at almost the start of the game with aquatic players. So this is going to be a very early start for a lot of aquatic players now. We also have 2 add-ons that you can add in to get aquatic 4 and fighting, which is the uncommon, which is 𝗨𝗨𝗀𝗱, and the rare, which is Krogan, which are both actually pretty solid Pokemon. You can probably get Amorphous or Poison in here if you want. And of course, you also have your legendary, which is Keldeo. Now, and with this, you still have 4 additional slots with the 9 Pokemon slots that you can fill stuff up with. You could go full fighting, or you could go full aquatic, or maybe you could throw in some other synergies in here. But yeah, there's a lot of potential here for aquatic fighting now, and I really like this. Now with aquatic flying, there is actually a very surprising amount of overlap here. We can get a full-on aquatic 6 and flying 6 just with these alone. Now there is the unique Cramorant and Lugia, which honestly you have pretty good chances of getting. As for the other stuff, you can pretty confidently get Dragonair and Quaxly every single time you try to play. However, the other 2 are add-ons. Masquerade is an add-on. Ducklet is an add-on. So you won't get this, you probably won't get this in an ideal world. This is what you get. However, you'll probably have to cheat in, probably get Gumi in here, get Dragon in somehow, and you can probably cheat in aquatic and flying through Dragon. I really do like this this synergy though. I think Quaxly will open up a lot of avenues for a lot of interesting aquatic builds. Now as for how you would build Quaxly, I have 2 ways that could be really fun. Honestly, this one is probably the safer option. With the way that its ability works, to shift to an adjacent unoccupied tile with fluid dance steps before dealing 100 special damage to the target, and it increases its speed. So ideally, I want to scale off its ability power, and also build its defenses, and also its speed. And since it's in the front line, I figured Muscle Band would be perfect for that. Soul Dew will give it extra mana and more ability power scaling. And because it's going to be jumping around with the jumping to adjacent unoccupied tile, it will ideally be losing aggro from because ideally this will be in a fighting team. So ideally the thing that it is fighting will like switch onto another target, so it can come back and get some hits in. So we're going to put Shell Bell on it, and ideally it will get big boosts from the special damage, and it will just get faster and faster as it goes on. Now that's probably the safe option. I do have a more fun option that I like doing. This is my ideal build personally. I don't think this will work in most cases, because whenever I initially saw this, I was like, ooh, boost speed. And so I immediately thought of Infernape and Ludicolo, who rely a lot on you can basically have them in the backline, put crit items on them, and then just have them start scaling speed insanely fast and just be an attack machine. However, the main issue with this build is, unfortunately, Quaxly does not scale speed as quickly as Ludicolo and Infernape do. However, the reason why I do think this could still work is because the main reason I still want this to work is because it can do insane amounts of special damage as well. So with Reaper Claw, Razor Fang, and Wide Lens altogether, it still has a really, really high chance of critting actually. And ideally it can move around as well. So it will still scale in speed. It will do damage as well. So it's kind of like, and honestly you don't need it to scale that much speed. Once it gets to about like 300, it basically more or less caps out there. And then this thing will just be teleporting all across the field, doing damage a lot with special damage. And ideally with it critting its ability, it will do like 200 special damage to the target. and like 40 speed per ability cast. That's the ideal world, and I think this will be another wide lens speed booster, which could be really fun. Will it work? Probably not. Honestly, I think this is probably the safer bet. I think this could work in lower ELO lobbies, but it will probably get jumped in higher ELO lobbies. But honestly, I definitely am going to try building this because I think it would be funny. My final thoughts on this mon. It definitely seems like a very interesting mon. Unfortunately, I don't think this will work out as well as these two do, because unfortunately, this guy just does not have attack scaling, which is one of the main reasons why you do Infernape or Ludicolo. Because with Infernape, he can use Fire's Energy to boost his attack, so he'll just continuously get stronger with each attack he does, which is why he can be really strong. And Ludicolo is kind of the same, except instead of attacks, it relies on ability casts. So with each Pokemon on your team, well, each sound Pokemon at least, that cast their ability, he gets stronger with each one of those, and he can get insanely strong off of that. Unfortunately, 𝗚𝗺𝗲 does not have that, so he just is kind of stuck with his attack. He does have a higher attack than both of these two. The only world where I see this actually becoming useful is if you somehow throw in a Lombre or Lotad off of this and get sound with probably Ducklet. If Ducklet gets added in with Lombre. Then again, at that point, you'd probably just want Ludicolo instead of you. So honestly, the 𝗚𝗺𝗲 crit cast thing is probably not the best choice in my opinion, but I think it can definitely be fun, and I'm going to try it if I get the opportunity to. Now, what do I think about this Pokemon? Honestly, it can work. I think it offers a lot of very interesting synergies. I think it needs to be at fully evolved to really justify putting items on it. I think it's going to be, the way that I see it, it's probably going to end up being like one of those Pokemon that you 2-star, and it's going to be like one of those replaceable Pokemon on your team. But I think this is definitely a very interesting Pokemon, and I do think it is going to see a lot of use in the future. Now moving on, we have Hisuian Avalugg, which is an ice rock monster. Oh no. So let's just get straight into what Avalugg does. So Avalugg, there's not much change between the two different forms. The Hisuian form is a ice monster rock, and the normal form is ice monster aquatic. And their ability is both hurling 3 giant chunks of ice randomly at targets, adjacent enemies, inflicting flinch for 3 seconds, and 40 special damage per projectile. User has Bergmite on their back, they are thrown as well for the same damage. Now, this can definitely be interesting, but you'd have to build around Avalugg to do the Bergmite thing, which is I just think is not worth it. But then again, I have never built Avalugg, so I might not be the expert on that. What I can be an expert in is that this thing is going to be a problem in the future, because you want to know what has monster and rock? If you guessed 𝗚𝗺𝗲, then you'd be correct. So yeah, now 𝗚𝗺𝗲 has another new thing it can play with. And if you get the additional, let's see, where is it? Oh, would you look at that? Cloyster, rock ice. So yeah, now you can just get 𝗚𝗺𝗲 off of that. There's of course other stuff you can mess around with. That's not even the end of, it doesn't even end at Ice 2. You can get other ice things in here. For example, we can get good old Abomasnow, our favorite ice monster. And then there's also, of course, let's see. It's not Sneasler. There's another ice. Where is ice? Over here. And, oh, would you look at that? Another ice monster. Oh, it has dark too? Oh, wow. That's great. We'll love to see that. So now with this edition, Rock Monster now has a lot more things it can play around. It can, look at this. This is not even including the uniques or legendary, and you can almost straight up get almost full rock monster and ice. It's like, it's yeah, this is terrifying. People are going to abuse this thing. Yeah, hopefully. I mean, honestly, it will be hard to get. You'd have to be in a well, honestly, no, because it's a regional, so you just have to be in a rock region and just hope that they add in Bergmite Bergmite, and then hope they add in Cloyster, which is definitely possible because they are... Cloyster is uncommon. This thing is... Okay, yeah, it's a rare. So yeah, Bergmite's rare, uncommon. You can probably add both of them in yourself. And yeah, you just gotta watch out for Bergmite now because 𝗏𝗺 is going to abuse it to Kingdom Come. Now, as for items for Avalugg, you'd probably be best off with a muscle band. Honestly, not even muscle band. Maybe just a rocky helmet to stop critical attacks, because you want this thing surviving as long as possible. Maybe do a King's Rock. And then, honestly, you just want it to be tanky as possible. So, you'd probably want, like, safety goggles on it. I think that would be fine. Because you want this thing casting as many times as possible. And ideally, you'd have Bergmite on your bench, like 4 of them. So this thing will get like 40 damage. I don't know if the Bergmites, like if they just stay there, like do they come back onto it? Like is this like, do the Bergmites only happen the first time that they cast, or is it like every time? Because if it's every time, this is a really good ability, and I definitely want to try building this thing. As if the Bergmite thing only happens once, I think this item set is fine. If it happens multiple times, you might want to get some sort of ability power scaling item, like either Choice Specs or Soldew on this thing, and I think that would be a great build for this. Final thoughts on this? 𝗏𝗺 players, please don't. Please. 𝗏𝗺 does not need ice. It really doesn't. Moving on to the next one, we have this monstrosity, Komala, a normal sound grass unit. So now you have something that can scale both in a normal sound team and a grass sound team. So this thing has a pretty neat ability. It is always under sleep. It is immune to burn, poison, freeze, and paralysis. And when a sound tries to wake this Pokemon up, it sinks deeper into its dream, gaining 5 ability power. And of course, with its Snore ability, it deals 60 special damage to the 3 enemy Pokemon in front, causing them to flinch. And flinch is essentially... It's like basically a way to get through shield, is all it really does. Now, Komala is definitely very interesting because it's always under sleep. So, this thing is the reason why I called this thing a monstrosity, because it's immune to burn, poison, freeze, and paralysis. It is essentially coming in with, it's just naturally has safety goggles on it, and because it gains 5 ability power with, if it's on a sound team, it essentially also just straight up has a Soldew. Even better, it's an even better scaling Soldew, if I'm being honest. As for how you would build this, I'd have to look at what sleep does. So sleep prevents moving, dodging, or attacking. Receiving attacks reduces the duration of the effect. However, because it's always going to be asleep, it will always stay in the same place, it will not dodge, and it will not attack. I'm not gonna lie, that kinda sucks, because I was planning on putting Flame Orb on it, which basically Holder increases its base attack by 100% and it's immune to freeze, but suffers burn during the entire fight. That would have been really fun. I don't know if it will it still attack while it's sleeping? Well, it's always under sleep, so it shouldn't attack, so there's not a reason to put Flame Orb. So how would you build this, actually? Probably just make it really tanky. That's seems to be the, honestly, its a Snore ability can be pretty devastating. I don't think it's going to be a game changer. It definitely gives normal sound a lot more to work with. That's always a scary thought to think about, because now normal sound has Audino and it can turn to, so that's definitely something to be concerned about. Honestly, I would probably recommend heavy duty boots so it doesn't get moved at all, because board displacement will move it. As for how I would build this, I would definitely try heavy duty boots. It gives it ability power at the start and also defense. High defense too, so it will make this thing extra tanky. Muscle Band to help with the tankiness, and Soldew to go ahead and keep on scaling ability power and extra mana gain. I think this would be a pretty good thing, because the only way I can really see to deal with this thing would be ideal, because it's always going to be asleep. Aquatic would really mess it up, because it would send it straight to the backlines, and it'll just sit there throughout the entire fight while your other stuff just gets killed. That's something you really want to avoid, so ability power heavy duty boots would be a really good thing to put on this. As for other item sets other than this, I am curious if X-ray vision would work on it, because it gives the holder immune to sleep and their attacks can no longer miss. I'm curious how that works with Komala, because it says it's always under sleep. Because if X-ray vision works on it, then that changes how I would things. I would then say X-ray vision, and then Flame Orb, and then something else, like Muscle Band probably. Because I think that could also work. Because waking this up would be cool. I'm sure there's probably a way for it to attack. I don't think they would have just given it 20 attack for no reason. So X-ray vision might work on it. I would not quote me on that, because that is just in theory. I do not know for sure. I think this is probably the best items as of right now that I think would go on it. You could also mess around, because of the honestly, with the normal thing, you could also do Big Eater Belt, and Efficient Banana would also be fine with it. Alright, next up we have some good news for the bug guys. I'm just gonna go do both of these at one time to have bugs all together. We have Tarantula, which allows the user to spin a Silken Trap, gaining Protect for 1.5 seconds. Any attack at melee range received during that time will lower the speed of the attacker by 5 and inflict paralysis for 1.5 seconds. Interesting. And that scales with ability power, so you could honestly maybe choice specs it to make it so it stays there for 3 seconds instead. And then, honestly, then make it so it inflicts 20, lowers the speed by 20. And that would be, oh, that sounds awesome. Choice specs on Spidops sounds awesome. And Slitherwing, we can do skitters behind the target to attack, dealing 60 special damage. This also lowers the target's ability power by 20. Ooh, choice specs sounds good on this too. Alright, let's go and take a look at them in the team planner. Alright, so for builds for Spidops, I think you'd want to do a Rocky Helmet, and that you want this thing alive as much as possible. And even though it says it's a range of 2, I do believe this thing would be best in the front lines thanks to its ability, where any attack at melee range received during that time will lower the speed of the attacker by 10 and inflict paralysis for 3 seconds. Well, 3 seconds with the choice specs, ideally. And it says any attack, so I'm assuming this stacks. Like, so ideally you would get Rocky Helmet. Ideally this thing would just be able to cast once or twice during the start. It doesn't really have too much HP, so I would recommend putting a Shiny Charm on it so that you at least guarantee that you can cast it at least once. As for the choice specs, I think being able to, because ideally it's getting attacked by something that's really fast, so being able for each attack to inflict minus 20 speed on the attacker and inflict paralysis for 3 seconds. And I think I think the paralysis would stack too, wouldn't it? Like, each time it attacks, it adds on to the paralysis time. I think this Spidops is going to be an absolute menace in a future bug teams. Honestly, I wish I still had to do the bug synergy, because I really want to play this. This seems like a lot of fun. As for Slitherwing, it has a really interesting ability where it will lower the target's ability power by 20, which can basically mean it will make ability powers for opposing teams be very weak. So I thought, since it scales off ability power, choice specs would not be a bad item on it, because that's just an instant minus the lowers ability by 40, and then since it will duplicate because it's bug, you can ideally get to lower the target's ability power by like 60 at the start of the thing, which can be very devastating for a lot of ability power users. And I figured you'd want to go ahead and, this is just a good thing to be able to keep around for a long time, since it's I would have liked to have kept it in the backlines. Like, I would have, whenever I first saw its ability to lower ability power, I really wanted to put Wide Lens on it, but unfortunately, because its ability will teleport it to behind the target, I figured Muscle Band and Shell Bell would probably be a safer bet. This will keep it around a lot longer, and ideally, because of Shell Bell and Muscle Band working together, ideally it will survive no matter where it ends up because of its ability. And not related to the build, but there's also, I really like the typings on this thing, because now Beautifly finally gets something it can synergize with. So now you can actually get normal. Beautifly was always an option because it had normal. However, it didn't really have anything it could synergize with. Now you can like maybe get a normal bow and actually get some normal stuff going in a bug team. That would be fun and interesting to work with. And of course, now we have a fossil unique to work with. So unfortunately, all the fossil bugs are add-ons. So there's Anorath and there's Yanmega, which you can get, but theoretically, with 2 fossil, you could make a full bug for fossil team, which would definitely be very interesting to see. Last but not least, we have our boy Greedent. Now, Greedent is going to be another normal gourmet, which has a lot of synergies. You can get Munchlax, you can get Oinkologne, there's a lot of stuff you can play, and you can also get Licky Tongue, and you can get Blissey. You can make a full-on normal gourmet team, which is crazy. There's of course also Miltank, there's Spinda, there's like so many synergies you can make with this, it's insane. Its ability is Stuffed Cheeks, and if the user is holding any berries, eat one of them immediately and gain 100% of the HP healed by it as shield instead. Otherwise, forage and equip a random berry that will be kept for future battles if possible. Definitely a very interesting Pokemon. I think honestly the only thing I'd really put on it would maybe be either Choice Specs or Soldew. Mainly to scale up this thing's ability, because Choice Specs would make it so 200% of the HP healed by it would be shield instead, which I think would be very good. I would not have Soldew though. I would just probably put this on a grass team maybe, or have it cook and just be cooking a ton of berries. So then you can just have it have like 3 and then again, there's also an argument that you just put on a grass team with no items and just have it have like 3 berries on it. I think that could be fun too. But yeah, I don't really have much to say about Greedent. It doesn't really get my inspiration going. But yeah, it seems like an interesting Pokemon. It definitely can be interesting. It's a pretty slow one. It's only with 28 speed, yeah. I don't think it's going to be any game changer like the Hisuian Avalugg was, but it's definitely an interesting one. Now that we're finally through with all of the new Pokemon, let's actually get into some of the changes. So for example, they've also changed the ranked game mode a bit and tournaments. Now you do have to get an account level of 10 or higher in order to play, which honestly does not take too much effort, but however, I do believe this was a necessary change. As the devs say here, we are trying a new approach to discourage some people from creating multiple accounts and playing ranked games at a level that is not theirs, or from polluting the leaderboard with multiple accounts, aka smurfing. This rule will inevitably impact new players. No approach is perfect. We hope it's an acceptable compromise. I think this is a very good change. I felt it was very needed, because I remember whenever I was first starting out, there were like some very, very overpowered people in my beginner lobbies, and honestly, looking back now, I think those were guys that were smurfing and just absolutely destroying new players in ranked matches, which I feel is a bit messed up, because you can just do that in Classic or Smeargle Scribbles. You don't need to go into a ranked game in order to do that. But yeah, this is definitely a positive change for Pokemon Autochess in general. Let's go ahead and move on to probably what most of you probably have clicked on this video to see. Changes to the synergy, which is the big guy, Fairy, the one that has probably traumatized half of the community at this point. So let's go ahead and read through this. Fairy Rework. Fairy Pokemon use wands to deal additional special damage and various effects with their attacks. Pick one of 3 wands at each stage of Fairy. 12 wands have been added, each with their own unique effect conditioned by luck. Fairy 8 now also gives 20 luck to all Fairy allies. So before we start looking through the Fairy, let's just go ahead and look through the wands real fast. So we have Blast Wand, which Fairy attacks deal 20 additional special damage, or 40% if it's a critical hit, which is going to really encourage Fairy to use crit items. HP Swap Wand, Fairy attacks deal 20% additional special damage. Wand's special damage has 20% chance to be stolen from target's max HP and given to its attacker. They gave Fairy monstrous energy. Spirit Wand, Fairy attacks deal 20% additional special damage, plus 5% for each ability casted by the attacker during the fight. Have 20% chance to give 5 additional PP. This is just a wand that goes really well with Fairy Sound, I think. Long Wand, Fairy attacks deal 20% additional special damage. Fairy allies gain +1 attack range and have 1% increased crit chance, multiplied by the distance between the attacker and target. This is just going to be making everything really far fighting. Yeah, giving everything range is kind of insane. I don't know how to feel about this one. And then we have fairy attacks deal 20% additional special damage and have 5% chance to cause confusion for 2 seconds and reduce their special defense by 3. This is honestly just going to make fairies like all mini 𝗚𝗺𝗲𝗀s. And Petrify Wand, fairy attacks deal 20% additional special damage and have 5% chance to cause locked for 2 seconds and reduce their defense by 3. This is like every time they attack, by the way, which is insane to me. That you can theoretically get a Pokemon's defense to like 0 whenever it's surrounded by a bunch of Pokemon. And then we have the slow one. Fairy attacks deal 20% additional special damage and have 5% chance to cause paralysis for 2 seconds and reduce their speed by 10. That sounds annoying, but compared to all the other stuff we've read so far, that one doesn't sound that bad. Then we have the slumber one. Fairy attacks. I'm just going to start skipping past the additional special damage and have 5%. Because I think everyone knows that's just what it's going to be. And they have 5% chance to cause sleep for 2 seconds and reduce their attack by 3. Yeah, we're reducing attack too. We're right back to the annoying bullshit. Great. And then we have fairy attacks have 5% chance to cause sleep. Oh, no, I'm looking at the guiding wand. What? Then we have wand's special damage has 50% chance to be redirected to the lowest HP enemy at attack range, which is kind of works well with this, honestly. That's just straight up, these two together is just straight up a monster synergy. Then we have the surround wand, which fairy attacks deal additional 10% per enemy adjacent to the attacker in addition to the 20%. Wand's special damage has a 10% chance to be inflicted to all enemies adjacent to the attacker in addition to the target. This is going to scale really well with fairy. I think this is... Oh man, this actually is a really scary wand. This one's going to be really popular. Then we have the pounce wand, where when being hit at melee range, fairy allies have 10% chance to retaliate for 30% of incoming damage to adjacent enemies, guaranteed if it's a critical hit. So yeah, this is essentially a callback to how fairy types used to work, and if you still want to play like that, this is essentially the anti-dark team build. Then we have the two-edged wand, where fairy attacks deal 40% additional special damage instead of the 20%, but wand special damage can also be inflicted as recoil damage to the attacker, and has an 80% chance to prevent recoil damage. Now, this is actually really good because, honestly, with all the luck items, like, once you're at Fairy 8, this does not really matter at all. Then we have the Warp Wand, which Fairy attacks deal 20% additional special damage and have 5% chance to teleport target on a cell far away. That is definitely interesting. Then we have the Switcher Wand, deals 5% chance to swap target position with farthest enemy. This one is definitely really interesting. You can theoretically have a Pokemon on the front lines, and the enemy has a Pokemon carry in the back. And they can just switch positions, so their backline carry is now in the front lines and completely surrounded. I think that can be really cool. Now we have 5% chance to throw a Whirlwind that makes all units in its path fly away. That's interesting. And wand special damage has 5% chance to pass through the target to hit enemies in a line behind it. Kind of similar to this one, but I think this one is definitely... Honestly, I think the Surround Wand is scarier than the Tunnel Wand, but I think both of these are terrifying if I'm being honest. Tunnel Wand could definitely get problematic for people that are boxing up. Alrighty, so I'm not going to recommend any team builds for Fairy. I mean, obviously there's a ton of stuff you can do with Fairy now. It is absolutely terrifying. I was actually in a ranked match. Well, I wasn't in the ranked match, but I was watching a ranked match whenever this first came out. Was watching, essentially there were 6 fairy teams, a ground team and a ghost team, and it went way into the late game, where ground was like fully dug out. Now theoretically, since all the fairies are contesting each other, they should be pretty weak. You'd think that, right? But yeah, no, so at least you think, okay, it's a fully dug ground team, it has pretty good mods, it should win. Right? It got 6! It got 6th place! And, honestly, yeah, that was a really terrifying wake-up call for me. it really made me was like, yeah, you know what? I think I'm just not gonna do ranked today. And that's actually, honestly, that's honestly part of the main reason why I'm doing this video instead of posting ranked matches today, because I am just trying to wait out the fairy, the fairy hype to die down, waiting for that to die down a bit, so I can go back to doing the 31 synergy challenge. I feel like that one guy in the apocalypse who like woke up, took a walk outside, saw all the zombies eating everyone, and was like, you know what? And just closes the door behind him and goes back to sleep. This is essentially what this video is for me and the 6.10 patch. Now obviously for fairy, you can do a lot of stuff. You can do fairy normal, there's a lot of overlap there. There's fairy psychic, you can do fairy light. There's honestly so many things you can do with fairy, it's insane. So I'm mostly going to be talking about item sets that you're going to see a lot of now. Now, because luck is becoming a very key, important part of fairy, you're going to see a lot of these items, loaded dice and lucky ribbon. Now lucky ribbon, it was a pretty niche item before. Its holder has 30% more luck and has a 50% chance to dodge attacks, which is honestly pretty good. It didn't get much use before, but now it's a pretty nice item. Especially for fairy now that its entire thing is based around luck. And loaded dice is also an item that was kind of niche because it added luck, which helped with crit chances a bit. But now it actually has a pretty decent purpose in terms of adding even more luck. Another thing you might see played with the normal teams, I don't think you will see this on all fairy teams, but if you play a normal team, they might also be using Big Eater Belt, which increases all stat buffs received by 25%, rounded down and not affecting PV. This also does affect luck, which is very interesting. So you have, like, essentially, in an ideal world, all three of these items all combined, and you will have like the most lucky Pokemon to ever live, which will be absolutely insane when you consider all of the abilities with the wands do from earlier. Which, by the way, let's go ahead and take a look at the wands. So it's not just completely random. There is some consistency. Like, you won't just get like, oh, you have one of these 12 wands from before. No, you do get a choice, and it will always be one of the 4 of those. You'll only have a choice of 3 of them, but from those 4, it usually will be pretty consistent, and you can kind of build your own ideal synergy from the fairy stuff. Another thing that's going to be really popular with fairy is crit builds. I think Razorfang, Razorclaw, and loaded dice is going to be really popular because the way fairy works is with the additional special damage. Essentially the damage that you're going to be doing will be done additional special damage with the attacks that you do. And that also does scale with crits. So essentially you get to crit twice with fairy, which is very terrifying when you think about it. It does not work with Reaper Class, so you won't do any ability powers bullshit with fairy. However, you can, on the other hand, you will see a lot of Razorclaw, Razorfang, and loaded dice builds. I can almost guarantee that with fairy. Another niche item that you might see will be Punching Glove. Punching Glove deals 8% of target's max HP as additional physical damage on hit, and because that also does scale with fairy, so you'll also be able to do additional. You're basically going to be doing 16% of the target's max HP on hit, because that will also be done as an additional special damage thanks to fairy, if you're like all the way fully into fairy at like 8. And that's assuming you didn't get like any of the stuff that allows you to do like 40%, like with like the crit build or the double-edged wand. And then of course there's a red orb, which basically allows 25% of attack damage is dealt as true damage. That's just to deal with normal teams, because there is going to be a lot of fairy normal. You're going to see a lot of fairy normal. There is so much overlap there that it is going to be a very common occurrence. Now, as for what I think about fairy, I don't know, man. Prey, honestly, that's all you really can do. This is a very terrifying. I feel like, honestly, with the way that the devs made it, the fairy used to be like kind of the joke of like 6.9, it was such a weak synergy, and devs were like, alright guys, we've heard you. Everyone's been complaining so much about 𝗚𝗺𝗲, we're gonna just drop this nuke of a synergy across the entire thing. And alright, have fun with it. And the worst part is, because it allows you to build basically whatever kind of build that you want with Fairy, it's not going to go away anytime soon. And this is really going to be a bloody, it's going to be a real skill check for a lot of people. Because unlike with normal matches where you can just kind of quickly glance over players' board and see what they're doing, you're gonna be like, oh, they're playing that, and then like you can kind of position around that. The wands will completely change the game, because you do have to actually read what they're saying, because with the way that luck is scaling in this game, their additional stuff that they do in addition to all their special additional attacks will almost be guaranteed to happen with like all of the items that you see here. So you do actually have to go to the other player's board and read what their wands do in order to kind of plan around having to deal with their fairy bullshit. As of right now, this is probably going to be the meta for a while because it is a very strong synergy now. Those are my thoughts on it. I do like the fact that they're going to make this makes Tapu Fini is going to be a lot more popular now. It was like one of the most least used Pokemon. It's probably going to be used so much more now. Now next up, we did also have reworks to Flying in Dark. So, I forgot to mention, apparently build your own synergy is literally the words of the devs. That is fun. But yeah, we did get a rework to Flying in Dark, which I think was interesting. So flying is supposed to be a lot smarter now. Now, if you've seen my flying video about while doing the 31 Synergy Challenge, you know I hate flying. But apparently it's supposed to be better now because Flying Way is now smarter. They won't just fly into a bunch of enemies and be like, haha, I'm helping. Dark, it seems they did give it slightly like kind of good, but also kind of nerf. So Dark melee Pokemon have increased priority movement for their first jump. That means they land their first attack slightly faster. But this is also prevents the opponent backline to move and leave a gap for assassins to infiltrate. So let me go ahead and give you a rundown of what that would look like. Now let's say, for example, you have yourself a normal team, and they're like all going to be boxed up in a corner. Now normally in games like this, once the game starts, back in 6.9, they would have moved forward, leaving room for, and oh no, it's good old, let's see, what's a good dark unit? A realistic thing. Just 𝗚𝗺𝗲𝗀. 𝗚𝗺𝗲𝗀's in the backlines now, and he's going to start jumping and basically tearing through the backlines, building up monster synergy, becoming an absolute menace. Now with the update, 𝗚𝗺𝗲 is going to be there, and these guys, actually, they will stay in a box, and this is going to be a huge boost to boxing strategies, because now whatever unit that they put in the corner is going to be very, very difficult for teams like Dark to be able to kill, because they're going to have to kill literally everything here in order to get to this. And if you have items such as, let's go ahead and put a Soldew, put a Manaphy Egg, and let's say you also have Choice Specs on here. Now, whatever unit you have here that is ideally doing tons of damage, like, let's say you had a, let's say Drizzile. Where is the Ultras? Yeah, let's say you have Drizzile back there with all of those items. You will basically be unkillable because you're going to be having such a tanky thing that this thing is going to be able to cast and kill everything, and there's not going to be much that they can do about it. So yeah, this is probably a really needed update for normal, because for box striding in general, because it used to not really be too much of a point, because Dark players would just jump to the back lines and absolutely annihilate them. Honestly, it used to before with teams relying on backlines carries, just throwing in a really strong Dark unit, throwing it into the back lines, and it would absolutely decimate this. This is really going to make that a lot more difficult and punish it a lot more when they do this. So yeah, I really think this is a really good change. It'll definitely build a lot more creativity when building your team to try to counter this. And oh god, I just realized this is also going to boost Fairy, because everyone's going to be playing Fairy normal, so now Fairy just got another buff that they did not need. That's great. Then up next we have Fighting 8, which is now changed. They changed it from Justified to Coaching. No longer reduces hits taken before throwing, but instead gives you a training bag. Each round, fighting Pokemon on the bench with a training bag or pillar on their left will train, gaining 4 attack and 10% base max HP permanently. This is a great thing for fighting, because they did not really have a good way to scale up their attack at all outside of like items. They just kept on blocking a bunch of stuff. But now you have a pretty decent way of scaling your carries into the late game. You ideally just want to have a lot of health, and ideally you could like put your main carry on the bench for like maybe 5 turns, and then you would have like additional like 50% base max HP added to your carry, which would be which is like amazing for fighting. Now it does happen at Fighting 8, so you won't get too many times that you can justify doing it. Honestly, you'll probably want to have like a third carry that you're like trying to evolve into like a kind of a big guy. Maybe have a maybe have like a Combuskin just constantly training on the bench, and then evolve into a Blaziken, and then you'll just have a massive Blaziken, put items on it, and then that's your carry. I think that can be justified. I think there's a lot of creativity you can do with fighting, and I'm really excited to try testing that out. Then we have some other changes where human TMs are now removable simply by benching the Pokemon. I thought that was already a thing, but apparently it was not. Oh, and they also changed how Unowns work. So Unowns no longer disappear after one fight if they did not cast their ability. That's definitely helpful. I've never really had that problem, but I have heard about people having that problem. So that's nice. And Unowns, when disappearing after casting an ability, leave a Reminisce that gives 1 point in Psychic Synergy, but only for the next automatic shop assignment. This allows to chain unknown shops when playing Psychic 7 with an unknown on the board. Oh, that's pretty nice. That makes... I mean, I did play Psychic, and I did use the Unowns, but I didn't really lean too heavily in them. I know they can be really good, I just don't really know how to play them that well. So I think that will definitely make experimenting with Unowns a lot easier now. Now, sadly for the 𝗚𝗺 players, they did nerf Rock. So now it's now at 10/25. So Rock 4 was like kind of not too big of a nerf, but Rock's oh geez, they like nerfed my boy down so hard, and 10 less defense hurts a lot, and which kind of sucks because Rock without, there is some stuff you can do with Rock, but they need their defense. Rock is not that good, that 𝗚𝗺, which kind of is a bit sad. Which I think the devs do know, because the Sticky Barb, which they did buff in the last patch, is still buffed. So I think they are aware of that. So luckily Sticky Barb is around to stay. They did nerf Amorphous, which honestly it did need it. So now it's a bit less good. And they buffed Steel, which now gives +3 defense to the whole team. So it kind of acts similarly to Ice now, where it gives special defense, but it seems it's only the first synergy. And of course, like, Steel 8 got like an additional 5%, but I think this is really nice. I like this. In the mainline game, Steel is a more defensive thing. I never really cared about how it was more of a damage-based synergy in this game. I do like how they are now implementing defenses in Steel in order for more people to play it. I think that's definitely very interesting. And then, oh god, they just basically completely nerfed Grass Floral. Why? The devs say, trying to tone down the Grass Floral composition by making most flower pots Pokemon not benefiting from the grass healing. We hope it will make you consider new floral comps where grass is no longer mandatory. Bro. Okay, let's be real. Since they added fairy typing, we know what they wanted to do. They're saying, go play Laurel Fairy. There's not a world where you can convince me that is not what the devs are saying here. You know what? That's like the only thing I can think of off the top of my head. You know what? I'll even humor it. I will go look real fast to see what kind of comps you can make outside of Grass Floral. And I can tell you, It's going to be Floral Fairy. Okay, so I was slightly wrong. No, I'm not slightly wrong. I'm still right, but it looks like you can go full floral and light. You do have to get add-ons, though. You have to get like Fomantis and Sunflora. But honestly, these other ones you can get pretty consistently. They also made Vespiquen a unique, which I'll get more into later on in the patches. But yeah, now you have about a 50-50 shot at getting a unique which is not a grass floral, which does help with not being forced to go down the grass floral route. I do think it's a bit naive to think about people not relying on grass floral, because Xerneas is literally the only one that is floral and not grass, and so you only have about a 1 in 5 chance of actually getting this thing. And once you do get it, you will be going into the light route, because there's Cherrim, which is the light. There's this thing, which is Fairy and Light, so they get Fairy 4. There's Comfy, which is Fairy Floral, that's good. Then there's Light Floral there, Light Floral there, and of course, Fairy Floral there. So then you have a pretty nice synergy built up of light going on, and yeah, I think that could really work. Of course, there's also the option where you get Vespiquen instead of Comfy, and then you just play for a Gourmet instead. So for example, you can play Verbombi, and you can also add in either one of these two work, but either Slurpuff, Dash Bun, or both if you get them. Either works, but yeah, you can make yeah, it is still going to be a Floral Fairy team, but yeah, you can make this work. This is of course assuming that you don't have any grass, though. Honestly, I think most people are still going to be doing grass floral, because it's whenever you're doing floral, it's the most consistent. I think it's going to be sad that they're going to be weaker now because of it. That's all I can really think of you can do with floral without grass, but who knows, maybe there's some better options out there. Now, going down the line of stuff here, Bagon being a regional now kinda sucks, especially for ground teams. Because a very nice way to cheat in monster into ground teams whenever you're playing Groudon is to usually do Vibrava and then do Gabite and then throw in a Bagon, and that's just easily. Usually, if you're playing it correctly, you can get a Monster 4, Monster 6. Getting Bagon now as regional, that's going to really hurt a lot of ground teams, because now they have to actually watch for it and grab it if they can to make sure that they get it in the region. Deino being a no longer regional, I don't know how to feel about that one. I think dark teams are definitely going to get a big boost in strength. But then again, with Fairy being the meta right now, maybe that's not what they want. We might not see too much Deino play. I think I did play like an entire, I did have a Hydreigon highlight video. It can definitely get really strong given the right items. So this is probably, this thing being more consistent now, I feel is very terrifying. So we might see a lot more Hydreigon play. That might be interesting. Binary line is now rare instead of uncommon. That's going to make fighting definitely a lot more interesting. The Binary line being rare now instead of uncommon is definitely interesting. Binary is actually a pretty good Pokemon. You can put a Muscle Band, Stardust, and Soldew on it, and that thing will just usually carry you into the late game just from it. So yeah, it being rare now is fine. I think it makes it so it can't just early carry in at the start for fighting, so I think that's completely justified. Oh, Vespiquen and Dunsparce, huh? I don't know how to... I think Vespiquen and turning into unique is definitely good. Vespiquen and Dunsparce turning into bugs and uniques was definitely interesting. Honestly, Vespiquen, let's take a look at them together. So I'm not going to go over the Dunsparce's ability because it hasn't changed at all. I do really like the fact that it got turned into a bug type instead of what it was flying. I mean, flying, it makes sense. I was an anime watcher. I understand that it could like fly around, but it feels really better in bug. Mainly because we have Trapinch, which we can use to get the ground synergy going and actually evolve it to evolve, because being able to dig holes with flying is really difficult. There's not really any ground flying overlap. Meanwhile, for Vespiquen, I really like this thing's ability to spawn a Combi nearby, then users every Combi heal adjacent allied Pokemon for 30 HP and clear their negative status conditions. Can be very useful. And of course, its attack range and ability differs based on how on the row it starts in. This is the ability it gets in the third row, which I like. I will definitely be interested in seeing what it gets whenever it's in other rows. I wish it showed that whenever I put it here, but we only get to see the third range row. I guess we'll have to play it in a game to see what it does. But yeah, definitely very interesting thing. Especially I like how it can spawn 2 Combis instead of another Vespiquen. I think that's a very interesting idea. I do wish it could scale with like something. There's no real scaling options here. I guess I could maybe just ability power it, like Manaphy Soldew on it. Then again, there is no ability power scaling, so I'm not sure what you would put on this. I think for now, Soldew and Manaphy. And then for the last item, probably... I don't know, Punching Glove. Punching Glove is good whenever you don't know what you're doing. It's you can never really go wrong with it. And it like stops a monster, which is a very good thing against monster players because Bug has to deal with monster a lot, so Punching Glove is good against that. Now as for the buffs, we got some very interesting things. These guys now work better with Flying Synergy. The Flying Synergy helps protect the Rotom now as well. That's kind of nice. Improved Dream Eater is really good because now it was used to before. Now you had to avoid casting on guys that were immune to sleep, but now that is solved. That's really good. I'm actually surprised that Ralts got a buff. I thought Ralts was already pretty good, but now it deals 20% of damage to adjacent targets as well. That is a really good buff. Honestly, I think the devs just made all the fairy Pokemon really good now. I think they just wanted to make fairy as strong as possible. They nerfed like everything else. Floral, fairy, ground, getting rid of Bagon, and Barbtar was just like getting absolutely dunked on. And they were like, I like to imagine that all of the Pokemon synergies are lining up for a race, and the moment like 6.10 is released, they like fire the gun to like start the race. Fairy starts sprinting off and looks behind it, and the devs are just cracking the legs of like all the other synergy racers. I just like to imagine that. Anyways, let's take a look at enough of the jokes. Let's just Fennekin. That's definitely interesting. Execute Eggs Bomb got upgraded. Eggs brought by the ability now hatch the next round immediately. I think that can definitely help with if you're looking for a very specific hatch mod. I think that is definitely very interesting. It can definitely get people to use Execute more because honestly a lot of people don't use it. It's a very interesting Pokemon, but it just does not really see much use because all it really does is like give you more eggs to work with. And most people, by the time you get to the epics, they already have the eggs that they want because they were playing baby, so usually Execute just does not see much use. Wishy-Washy got an upgrade. I'd love to see that. And that's all kind of cool. Oh, Pyukumuku now also cures negative status conditions of adjacent allies in addition to the user. That is really good. Yeah, it just makes Pyukumuku just a much better Pokemon carry. Oh, and the 𝗚𝗺𝗲 line and the 𝗚𝗺𝗲𝗀𝗀, they both got a buff to their PP where it's cheaper for it to cast now. I think that's amazing. Honestly, I think Ultra 𝗚𝗺𝗲𝗀 is fine. I never was really impressed by a normal 𝗚𝗺𝗲𝗀 though. So I think this is completely justified for 𝗚𝗺𝗲𝗀. 𝗚𝗺𝗲𝗀, I think it did need a buff. It used to be really, really good. However, they did debuff it to Oblivion because all you had to do was get a Cosmog, evolve it into 𝗚𝗺𝗲𝗀 somehow, and which is a very hard thing to do, don't get me wrong. It's a very difficult thing to do. You'd just barely be able to survive, but then you'd like come back at like 20 HP and just start absolutely wrecking the lobby, which you still do with normal 𝗚𝗺𝗲𝗀 today, don't get me wrong, but now it's like a lot easier to usually by the time that it does come in, usually takes like a couple of rounds, but by the time it comes in, it will get outscaled by other things, and you do have to build around it. I think buffing 𝗀𝗪𝗀𝗀 is completely fine. And what is this last one? Ooh, they changed passive Stonejourner. The 50 ability power given to adjacent allies to the start of the fight is now doubled to 100 if Stonejourner is in the spotlight. Oh, God. So, some information about Stonejourner. It is like one of the probably least popular rock Pokemon right now, but I think this changes everything. So now Stonejourner is probably going to be one of the most sought after uniques. Instead of low roll, it's actually going to be quite a high roll, because just naturally with Stonejourner, it gets rock and light, which you'd think, rock and light does naturally have Bulldor as an epic that you can just straight up get at any point. And that alone, they're not too good by themselves. Honestly, all enemy Pokemon are locked for like 2 seconds. It's like kind of meh. Like, it won't be any game changer. What is a game changer though is its other ability, which it doesn't say on the wiki, on the team planner yet, but this will now be 100 ability power. Well, actually, it's like 50 power if it's not in the light spot, but if it is in the light spot, it's 100 ability power. So okay, I guess it was updated. This is really good because all you have to do is place Tyranitar, the good old Barbtar. I love to see it. Yeah, if this thing's right next to Stonejourner, it just gets a choice specs. Essentially, they gave Barbtar 4 items. So now, instead of 120 damage, it's going to be 240 damage with choice specs on this Barbtar. So, yeah, this is terrifying. I'm not going to build a team for this because I don't want people to build this, but this is very terrifying. And also you can get theoretically Lycanroc as well for light 3 if you want, but honestly I wouldn't even recommend it because honestly you don't even need to put items on this. Just have a light spot and Barbtar will do the rest. Especially if you give it a choice specs. They've essentially just made it so this thing has 4 items now. That is... And also, it's not even just that. You can also... It's going to be the Pokemon to its left, too. So you can also have, like, a second carry over on the left. And, yeah, boom. You just have, theoretically, just God tier Pokemon with 4 items now, thanks to a Stonejourner. So I think we're going to see a lot more play of Stonejourner now. Honestly, I swear, bro. They gave fucking Barbtar Ice Synergy, and I'm like, bro. They gave Barbtar Ice Synergy, and now they're just giving Barbtar choice picks. I swear, I think the devs just love Barbtar. They nerfed it with a bit with like the dark and the rock, and they're like, all right, guys, I think we tricked the players into thinking we're nerfing Barbtar. Throw in the choice specs, throw in the additional choice specs on it, and oh yeah, give it some ice synergy too. I love that. Now moving on to the nerfs, Chimecho got nerfed to hell because it looks like they reduced its range. That's completely fair. It seems like yeah, honestly, that's completely fair that they reduced its range to 2, because honestly, you could just put it in the backlines, just put it in the corner, and it would just immediately start hitting everything almost the second the game started, which was crazy. It was really overpowered in sound teams, but now people will be more likely forced to put it in like the middle or keep it in the backlines, but make it so like it attacks later than other carries, which is also not good. I think it should be fine. They also nerfed my boy Fuecoco. They just nerfing sound. Looks like I think this is fair. The fact that it was like 60 PP all around. I think honestly it casted almost instantaneously, so I think this is like fine. Like 70 is still not that hard to get to. I think that's fine. And no! They made it so Lapras and Wailmer no longer inflict freeze. This is a sad day. Yeah, okay, so Lapras is not going to be as good of a carry anymore. That's a bit sad, but it is what it is. I think that's fair. Made Poplio take a bit longer to cast. That's fine. They did... Oh my god. They actually nerfed Xerneas? Oh my god, I thought they were just going to keep buffing Fairy. That's what I feel like this entire patch has been about, was just making Fairy as overpowered as possible, but oh my god, well, it wasn't too big of a nerf. They just made that it boosts itself by 20 speed to down to 15. Still, it's something. Thank you PAC devs, for making this slightly better for the rest of us. Clawitzer no longer hits like a nuke. Well, it still hits like a nuke, but instead of it being a 100% chance to cause confusion to the entire team, it's only a 30% chance. Which, honestly, I think that's fair. It was pretty broken. I think it's fine. And, honestly, I think this is fine. I don't really care about 𝗚𝗺𝗨𝗀𝗀𝗱 that much. Spino Blind. Oh, they got I'm surprised they got nerfed. I mean, it was a pretty good carry at the start. I don't think it was bad enough that it justified, nerfing them, but... Okay, that's fine. Oh no, they nerfed Cherub Sunlight, shit. Yeah, it used to heal like 120 HP, and it would attack, like, hit like a tank as well. So yeah, honestly, I liked it a bunch. And honestly, people wouldn't even play it that often, because usually you want like something else in the, Sunlight. But yeah, I guess it's getting nerfed, I guess that's fair. As for the reworks, we got Shuckle no longer gains mana during the bite effect. That's fine, I suppose. And honestly, a lot of these... Then they did nerf Blizzard on Articuno from 100% damage to 30% damage if the target already has freeze. I think that's... Yeah, that's fair. Articuno was really strong, so that's fine. As for the changes to items, I'm glad that they made Mock Ribbon stronger. That's nice. And, oh, they made Berserk Gene actually kind of good. Berserk Gene, I never really cared for it because it gave you confusion for 3 seconds each time you gained a monster's attack. I think 1 second is a lot more manageable than 3, so that's completely fine. Lucky Ribbon, yeah, they removed the 10 defense. I knew that this is not what they had before. I think they knew that Fairy was going to use Lucky Ribbon a ton, so they removed the defense and added shield instead. That's completely fine. And, ooh, Friend Bow. They made it so normal types can get it to get the shield-based stats. That's pretty nice. And let's see. Oh, looks like the lock status... Oh, I thought it already did that before. Interesting. Then as for these town encounters, we have... Okay, so now Diversify is a lot more doable. 8 different active synergies. Honestly, this is something you'd only ever do if you were playing Dragon or Amorphous. Evolve is reach 4 3-stage R Pokemon on board instead of 5. Honestly, yeah, I think 5 was really hard for a lot of people. 4 is a lot more manageable because you get like 1 for the unique, 2 a second one for the legendary, and then you just have to 3-star 2 other ones. I think that's completely valid. And then Mission Order Prosper is still the easiest one to do in my opinion. Then as for the UI, we've already talked about I think all of these. They did add a streak counter in the game UI next to Life and Money, which shows your win and loss streak, which I think is definitely very useful. And they fixed a couple bugs, which is nice. And as for miscellaneous, it's all mostly about the new Twitch stuff, which is, yeah, definitely interesting. Like I said, I still don't really use Twitch that much. It seems it's definitely very popular right now. A lot of people are on it. I think it's great that Pokemon Autochess is doing this. I'm not going to use it, but I think I do recommend that you all use it, though. Yeah, those are about all my thoughts on the patch right now. It's definitely a very interesting patch. Added a lot of things that, honestly, I think this is going to change the game a lot. It already has changed the game a lot. Like, honestly, you can tell just how much has changed from a lot of the top players now have like stuff hating on Fairy in their name, like you should disrespect Fairy. There's Fairy God is fun. Then honestly, it's just great. Yeah, honestly, just so you can see the how bad it is right now, let's actually get into a ranked match. You can really see the effect in 1,250 plus ranked matches, but unfortunately it doesn't seem like any of those are happening right now. So let's get into the end game of a... Let's view this one. So getting into it, let's see. So it looks like from the dead players, there are 1, 2, 3 teams there that were using fairy. And let's look at the top players. So this guy, full fairy team. Field team, but using fairy. And full fairy team. Yeah, so as you can see, yeah, they're using the big ear belt, they're using lucky band, loaded dice, yeah, all kinds of things. As you can see, crit items are very common right now. And that guy's actually using the red orb. I didn't actually think anyone would be using that yet. But yeah, as you can see, the items for fairy is pretty straightforward. Just load dice, lucky band, big eater belt if you can, and like, yeah, honestly, Jesus, this is terrifying. But yeah, that's this is the state of fairy. As you can see, fairy normal is pretty common. Even this guy who's doing field is relying using fairies, and honestly, you can see that how different. Like this guy is using surround tunnel wand. That is a bit scary because they can hit so many things. They can hit across, they can hit in the back, like, they can just hit so many things all at once. It is terrifying. I'm not surprised that this guy is absolutely demolishing. And you can really see how different, like, you really do need to read, because these guys, even though they basically are playing similar synergies, they have completely different synergies because of these wands, which basically change up how their entire teams are played. In any case, that's all for the all my thoughts on Pokemon on this patch. I personally like it. I think Fairy's going to be a lot of fun to play now. It definitely needed an upgrade. I'm not sure if it needed this big of an upgrade, but it's definitely something interesting to watch out for. I will probably get back onto doing 31 Synergy videos after this one. But yeah, that's everything from me. Hopefully you all learned some stuff from this. I know that I got severe depression looking at the fairy lineup, but other than that, yeah, really like this Synergy. I do know that I know everyone's obsessed with fairy right now, but keep in mind Barbtar with this patch has a lot of room for a comeback here, which is terrifying to think about. In any case, I hope to see you all next time.